Hey y'all, hi. So today I am going to build a custom palette, but before I do that, something very exciting has happened, which is that I found my missing lethal shadow. It was hiding in the square adept shadows. It's right here. The imprint on the surface is worn away, so it was in disguise, but as soon as I finished filming my recent video about reorganizing my eyeshadows, I took another look inside of my palette of square shades and I was like, there it is. Very happy to have it reunited with its brethren. It does make me think that I might be missing an adept shadow, but I actually think that one of the adept shadows broke in transit, or it broke when oh no, I know what happened. It didn't break in transit. I washed out the pan and used it for Old Gum, my custom Salt New York blush shade. This is it right here. This is the pan that used to have an adept eyeshadow in it, and that used to complete the square tiled floor. Since I washed out this pan and decided to use it for cream blush, now we're missing one. But at least everything is accounted for, and now I can proceed. It's been a long time since I dug into my single eyeshadows and built a custom palette, and it's been even longer since I did it just following my nose. I've been doing a lot of duping the vibes, building palettes to satisfy a desire for a specific color story because of something that's new to the market. But today, I'm just going to play. I'm going to build myself, I think, a sort of tidy, edited palette, maybe nothing too complex, not too many options, something that I can keep on my vanity and use like every single day, especially when it's a little bit of a quick makeup day, a no makeup day. I think that that's what I'm going to be going for. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Hannah, and I really love eyeshadow. I particularly love my collection of single eyeshadows because I find that it is endlessly useful. These shadows feel kind of like art supplies to me, and when I'm getting the urge to buy something new, especially new eyeshadows, it really helps me to dig back into these and remember that what I already have is really satisfying and exciting. If you aren't subscribed for some reason and you enjoy this while you're watching, I really hope that you'll subscribe today. And now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, I'm going to start by just opening these two palettes and pulling the eyeshadows that intrigue me the most. And I'm reminding myself now that I don't want it to be too many. I do kind of want to make a small custom palette for myself today. But let's see if that's actually what I end up wanting to do once I get in there. Well, so far I've gone in this very grungy, I was going to say bronzy grungy, but it's actually more of a kind of greeny grungy direction. I kind of know what's happening here. I'm going to zoom you in because I think I'm going to be dealing with fewer shadows from now on. I've been feeling my best lately when I pile on a bunch of thick black eyeliner and have a dark, smudgy, messy, creasy lid. I think it's because I've been feeling angry about what's going on in the world, and the combination of like an intentional imperfection and sort of just greasy, creasy rage all over the lids, and the nod to kind of like a punk or emo angry teenager eyeliner application. That is the only thing that's been feeling good to me lately. So I understand in light of that why when I first opened that round palette, this was the first shade that I picked. This is an old Depotted Juvia's Place shadow. It's a little bit softer than a true black. I would even say it has a little bit of a green tinge to it. It could definitely be put to use in those like inky, gunky, smudgy, asymmetrical looks. I would love to use this shadow to do a version of those looks that I've been doing lately. And once I picked it, I think I realized that my instinct is to build a palette that will support me in continuing to express myself with my eyeshadow in that way, but that will lead me to incorporate some more texture and shine, give me something to kind of sink my teeth into while still keeping the looks in that realm. And this shade definitely does that. This is Sydney Grace Defiance, which I wasn't even thinking about the name when I picked it. It is really hard for me to keep my hands off of this eyeshadow whenever I'm building a custom palette, but especially in this case, it makes total sense because it's like the bronzy olive version of the other one that I had already picked. It's also hard for me to keep my hands off of pressed glitters when I'm building myself a custom palette. And this one I picked because it doesn't really flash too orange. It has some color, some rainbow in it, but overall it keeps it pretty neutral. And it has a lot of textured shine. So I feel like a little bit of this goes a long way to add dimension to the kind of caked on, creasy, like raging all night at the club type of eyeshadow look that I am still finding is my only solace in this life right now. So that's the starting point. And I actually really love this just as a trio. Like, this is enough for me. Maybe this is just my palette. This is definitely how it's been lately. But I think that with this as the base, kind of like the inspiration, it's really interesting to see where I went next when I opened the palette of square eyeshadows. And where I went next was kind of in a green direction, which sort of surprised me. I have kind of an interesting relationship with green eyeshadow. I am very drawn to it and I like it in theory, but I don't always love the way that I end up looking when I make a fully green look. It might be partly because I have an olive undertone, which is something that I haven't always known, but I feel like lately I've been treading a little bit lightly when it comes to green eyeshadow. However, I immediately wanted to put these two shades, or one of them, into my palette. These are two jeweled multichromes from Cliona. The one on my pointer finger here, the one with sort of a richer forest teal green, is Gargoyle, and the other one, the one that flashes chartreuse, is the shade Weathered. I can never really capture the entire spectrum of the shifting multichromes of these shades with such even studio lighting, but I think you're getting a pretty good sense here of the basic impression, like the overall impression of color that each of these two eyeshadows gives. That might be more green than I actually want in this palette. Yeah, Weathered is definitely grungier. I don't think I want to go to this place of teal. I think I want to keep it, if we're going to have any kind of color, this like yellowish chartreuse is much more in line with the vibe. So Gargoyle is out. Now let's look at Corrosion, which is this one right here, and Ornamental, which is this one right here. I grabbed both of them because I felt like just looking at the pans, I couldn't decide between them. And I thought that this palette that I'm building could use a little bit of that kind of like lighter gold. You know what I mean? A little bit of the lightness of still a bit of a steely and interesting gold. Corrosion has a little more going on in terms of the base, right? It looks like it has some color in the base, whereas Ornamental, it's just lighter and brighter and a little bit more pure. But I think I want it to be ornamental. I think I don't want to bring in the red that the undertone of Corrosion has. I'm really trying to make an edit that's directional so that every time I open the palette, I kind of know what I'm getting. So Corrosion is out and Ornamental is in. This is a Natasha Denona single that was given to me as a gift a long time ago. It's basically just a good old grounded, slightly warm bronze. And yeah, I could see it going with this palette. I also know myself, swatched out, it looks like it's got a little bit of olive in it too, which helps to tie it in. What I was saying is that I know myself, and on days when I don't really feel like doing very much, I'm going to need something like this in the palette to give me something to use so that I won't just defect from this palette and go looking for something else. So I think that it's a good compromise. It's a good inclusion. I know they all look really beautiful together. Like I could have just kept all of them, but I love putting constraints on myself. I love trying to edit it down, especially if you have a wide-ranging creativity and you can see possibilities everywhere. Constraints are often the ticket, I find, for focusing that creativity and helping it to build something. So here's what we have so far. It's a 6-pan palette, and maybe this is it. I think that what I need to do is just talk myself through the process of using these shadows to see if I think that I need anything else to supplement them. So let's say it's a Tuesday morning. I'm sitting down to create an eye look. I open up the palette, and what do? I could go straight into this eyeshadow or this one to put all over the lid. And that is frequently what I do first, right? I just take like the main shadow shadow and I put it all over my lid. So I have 3 options to ground the look that way. I have either one of these two to build depth into the outer corner, or to kind of use to smoke out all over the lower lash line, upper lash line, and really get that grunge that I'm after lately. And there are endless combinations of those, right? This shade all over the lid with this one in the outer corner, this one all over the lid with this one in the outer corner, or this one in the outer corner, right? I could combine them in all sorts of ways, so that's exciting. And just with those 5, I think there are a lot of eye looks that I could build quickly, easily, and effectively. Then this glitter will provide a high impact version of something that I always like to have, which is a light spangling and reflecting textured shadow for the brow bone. It's intense and high voltage. It'll be hard for me to get a very soft look with this palette. I think it could be done, but it's not what it's going to lead me to do. But that's okay with me. I don't think that I feel like I need that option right now. I think this is going to be it. And thrillingly, I think it'll fit into this, my smallest palette. And I'm going to put them in there just like this. I know that it's not very designed. I usually like to put single eyeshadows, especially when they're different shapes and sizes, each on its own, not touching any of the others. I like to put them in rows that are spaced out. So they're kind of like, paintings hanging on the wall in a gallery. But inside of this little palette, this big round shadow, it has to be touching some of the other shades. I can't really organize them that way. So I just push them all together and it's going to be fine. I know that when I open this palette to use it, I'm really going to be thinking about the eye look that I'm doing and focused on the use value of the shades rather than whether they're organized in a symmetrical way. Let's swatch it. Oh my gosh, I love it. It definitely has a green aspect that I don't know if I was really quite expecting even as I was putting it together. But I feel like it's a kind of green that I can work with. It's not really going to clash with what I want to do. Okay, I'm so excited about this, as always, as it always does. Doing this has gotten me more energized around not just using my own eyeshadows that I already own, but, using eyeshadow in general. Even though, as I've mentioned, I have been using eyeshadow lately. I've kind of been piling it on, working out some of my feelings. I feel even more excited to do that and inspired to do it in a slightly different way, like to evolve that idea into a slightly different direction because of this. I'll put information about each of these eyeshadows in the description box. I'll link everything that I can link, but I really hope that this has inspired you to play with the eyeshadows you already have and to build something for yourself that you want out of the eyeshadows that you already have, instead of running right out and buying something. Because to me, this is really about the creativity, innovation, rearranging, reminding myself of why I love this art form, not necessarily about about shopping. And that is it. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any suggestions for what I could call this eyeshadow palette, like a title for it, put them in the description box down below, because I haven't been thinking about it for very long, but nothing has sprung to mind right away. And I always love reading your creative and brilliant suggestions. So if we were putting this out on the market, let me know what you think that we should name it. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.